If what you're looking for is a good cry, this book is for you. We're talking about The Lady with the Camellias by Alexandre Dumas. It was published in France in 1848, long time ago, right? And it's about his love affair with a courtesan at the time, Marie Duplessis. And given the year, it caused quite a scandal. So, what was happening in France in 1848? Well, the most important thing was the Springtime of Nations, a set of revolutions that happened throughout Europe but started in France in 1848. Also, in 1847, we had novels like Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Agnes Grey coming out. So, by a literary point of view, we are still in the romantic phase. That is one of the reasons why Alexandre Dumas' book is different. It combines romantic elements with elements of the next phase in literature, which was realism. But of course, make no mistake, this is a love story. So, who was Alexandre Dumas' fils? Well, he was born in Paris, the son of a dressmaker, Marie-Catherine L'Abeille, and of Alexander Dumas, a famous writer at the time. However, his birth was illegitimate until his father recognized him later on. He was always taunted by this at school. So he abandoned education after college and devoted himself to writing. At first, Dumas had no success and accumulated a bunch of debt. He met Marie Duplessis, and having known her a year, she became his mistress. She was at the time only 16 and a famous courtesan in Paris, the one most sought after. And she actually had camellias as her calling card. She used white camellias when she was available for her lovers and red camellias when she was not. Marie Duplessis died of tuberculosis when she was only 23. So why the scandal? Well, obviously, Dumas' real relationship was very known in Paris. It was not a problem at the time to have a mistress or to be the lover of a courtesan, but it was not acceptable to put it in writing. Also, courtesans had been depicted in literature before as undesirable. They represented a destabilizer for the institution of marriage and family, so they were marginalized, of course, not received in good society and all that. But the reality was they were very rich, and high society women regarded them with jealousy and with actual curiosity a lot of times because of their wealth. So, why did he write the story if it was so outrageous? Well, quite put simply, that he decided to capitalize on the fame of Marie Duplessis' name. He wrote The Lady with the Camellias in 3 weeks, and it was published very soon, so as to be sure to capitalize on the fame surrounding her death. Given the famous Parisian name and her story, it was quite a success. He made sure to include real conversations and letters to make the story even more authentic and to emphasize the love he felt for her. With all of that, he still didn't manage to pay all his debts. So he decided to transform it into a play. He wrote that in 8 days as well. As you can see, you can accomplish quite a lot of things and in a very short amount of time if you don't have social media. Unlucky for him, the play was rejected the first few times he tried to publish it. The censors of the French Republic considered it to be too scandalous. In fact, the government only lifted the ban in 1852 to distract the public from the current political debacle. Napoleon had just proclaimed himself to be an emperor. In England, it still remained banned for 20 years. Why is this book so important? In short, it managed to change the mentality of people. At the time, courtesans were seen as having an innate propensity to vice. So Dumas' portrayal of Marguerite Gautier is different. He makes her out to be almost like an angel. She is the fallen woman, but she redeems herself because of her pure love and her self-sacrifice. So by that, he's challenging the stereotype. He makes her out to be a complex character. She's actually now more than a courtesan. She's a woman in love. That is wonderful in the eyes of the public. They can't get enough for her. They make out actually an obsession. They see her as a real woman capable of love. So this created, of course, a problem, because it is considered that the theater can change people's mind, and it actually had changed people's mind about courtesans. Many plays were put as reactions to his, and they depicted courtesans as simple-minded bad women. It was a bit too late. Camille had become an obsession for the public, and people were forced to recognize fallen women as real women and humanize them. And that is not all the impact. The impact is greater, because all this generated more change at society level. Issues with them were addressed. The attention on the horrors of the trade made people to take actual steps to combat the romanticized view of the profession. Marguerite's stories inspired actually many other works of art. The most notable are La Traviata by the Italian composer Giuseppe Verdi, La Traviata meaning fallen woman, and more recently Moulin Rouge. So this is my view on the book. Careful, spoiler alert. If you are already intrigued by the book, go read it and come back here after you've read it, and let's chat about it. So I've read this book when I was 15 or 16, and I cried. I cried a lot. I cried like 2 hours after I've read it. I was quite emotional at the time, and I actually don't know why. Why did it move me so much? Because Marguerite Gautier dies. You know this because it's kind of like in the first paragraphs of the book. So I knew she will die, but the way she did, life-changing moments. I mean, all alone in the end. Her end is not a surprise. It's just so tragic. And her love story is beautiful, and her self-sacrifice makes it all the more powerful. It just made me want her not to die. It made me so sad that it happened. The book is about, obviously, Marguerite Gautier, who is a courtesan, and Armand Dumas, who is the man in love with her. He falls in love with her by chance. She's extremely beautiful and has a distinction about her. Of course, her lifestyle is busy with parties and plays, and she's always carrying Camellias with her, just like Marie Duplessis in real life. First glimpse of her character is shown the first time she meets Armand. However little one may have known women like Marguerite, one cannot but know the delight they take in pretending to be witty and in teasing the people whom they meet for the first time. It is no doubt a return for the humiliations which they often have to submit to on the part of those whom they see every day. Armand falls deeply in love with her, at the point of checking every day if she is well when she falls ill. Although they had met for like five minutes one time at the opera, and he goes and sees her every day, not leaving his name, of course, because they had just been acquainted, but he checks on her, and that is a lot of his passion lasts for 2 years, because Marguerite is forced to leave Paris. When she comes back, he meets her again by chance. All the same, my heart began to beat when I knew that it was she, and the 2 years that had passed since I saw her, and what had seemed to be the result of that separation, vanished in smoke at the mere touch of her dress. After they are truly acquainted and spend an evening together, she is so amazed by his devotion and is actually very aware she is about to die because she is ill with tuberculosis. She takes him as her lover very quickly. I shall not live as long as others, and I have promised myself to live more quickly. The entire speech about that is very painful and is quite telling of the life of the courtesans at the time. If I took care of myself, I should die. All that supports me is the feverish life I lead. Then, as for taking care of oneself, that is all very well for women with families and friends. As for us, from the moment we can no longer serve the vanity or the pleasure of our lovers, they leave us, and long nights follow long days. I know it. I was in bed for 2 months, and after 3 weeks no one came to see me. While they are in love, Armand is aware of her condition, her health, of her condition as a courtesan, and he tries to he goes through phases. He either idolizes her or condemns her. Either way, he doesn't actually love her for who she is, though he realizes that he is very fortunate to be really loved by a courtesan. That is a victory of infinitely greater difficulty. With them, the body has worn out the soul, the senses have burned up the heart, dissipation has blunted the feelings. They have long known the words that we say to them, the means we use. They have sold the love that they inspire. They love by profession and not by instinct. They are guarded better by their calculations than a virgin by her mother and her convent. And they have invented the word caprice for that unbartered love which they allow themselves from time to time, for a rest, for an excuse, for a consolation, like usurers who cheat 1,000 and think they have bought their own redemption by once lending a sovereign to a poor devil who is dying of hunger without asking for interest or a receipt. Then, when God allows love to a courtesan, that love, which at first seems like a pardon, becomes for her almost without penitence. When a creature who has all her past to reproach herself with is taken all at once by profound, sincere, irresistible love, of which she had never felt herself capable, when she has confessed her love, how absolutely the man whom she loves dominates her, how strong he feels with his cruel right to say, you do no more for love than you have done for money. They know not what proof to give. So at this time Armand makes a bunch of jealousy scenes. They seem to come from love. He succeeds in restoring part of her health because he insists she change her habits and not go to parties so much. They even go to the country together and they live there a beautiful summer. This connection makes them feel everything is possible, even to be together forever, though evidently the times are not the times the society back then wouldn't allow for something like that. But they dream, they are young, and they make plans. And after that life happens. The courtesan disappeared little by little. I had by me a young and beautiful woman whom I loved, and who loved me, and who was called Marguerite. The past had no more reality, and the future no more clouds. He says that because he manages to make her think of renouncing everything. She's willing to give up on her wealth. She was spending about 100,000 francs a year, which in today's money would be $600,000. That's just for her expenses, and she's willing to go from that to selling everything she has in order to get rid of her debts and live freely with her lover. What I love is the portrayal of her self-sacrifice. It's beautifully described. Her feelings, her faith. She's willing to do anything, and she feels that she is loved and supported by God because of that. On the other hand, I didn't like how the author also portrays her as a bad influence, because of her, Armand Dumas starts gambling when she still has her other partners in order to cope with that. But that is in a way what makes this book more complex. The story is enchanting because it's not all good or all bad, and in the end the author insists that she was the only courtesan that was special. She was the only one, she was the only exception, because otherwise the story wouldn't be worth telling. He insists that other courtesans are not like her. I didn't like that, but I understand it, and the effect was contrary to that, so it all worked out well. I do not draw from this story the conclusion that all women like Marguerite are capable of doing all that she did. Far from it, but I have discovered that one of them experienced a serious love in the course of her life, that she suffered for it, and that she died of it. I have told the reader all that I learned. It was my duty. I am not the apostle of vice, but I would gladly be the echo of noble sorrow wherever I bear its voice in prayer. The story of Marguerite is an exception, I repeat. Had it not been an exception, it would not have been worth the trouble of writing it. The author himself is a little judgmental concerning prostitutes at the time, quite naturally, of course. But that is why it's all the more important to read and understand this book, because it changed mentalities. It showed that through suffering we can redeem ourselves, and that is a powerful message. I actually loved it, and that is all. That's all I'm revealing. Be sure that the most interesting part of the book has not been revealed. I intentionally left it out because it's quite impactful. That's it. Thank you for watching.